today we have Eddie, who is a sophomore in high school and having issues going to school. And we have his parents who are concerned. Hello, my name is Kristen and I'm a counselor with the Sheriff's Office. I appreciate everyone being here and being present. I'll be taking notes for today just to get an understanding of everyone and see how I can help you. Is everyone okay with that?
Yes. Sure.
Perfect, perfect. So I wanted to provide everyone just some information about HIPAA and what it is. So HIPAA is everything that is talked about in session is kept confidential unless you're threatening to harm yourself or harm others. If there are any chances that you want to harm yourself or harm others, I will have to let my chain of command know just for safety reasons. Does everyone understand what HIPAA is?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So could you tell me a little bit about why everyone's here today? Dad, could you explain to me why you're here today?
Well, we're here out of sheer frustration. We're to the point of trying to figure out why our son Eddie doesn't want to go to school. We just don't get it. We've given him a good background, provided well for him, and he just doesn't want to go to school.
Okay. Mom, could you give me an understanding as to why you're here today?
Yes, we wanted you to go to school and get a good job in life and a good education.
Okay. Eddie, could you give me an understanding of why you're here today?
Well, I'm not going to school.
Okay.
School's just way too hard.
Okay.
I just want to be a rock star.
Okay. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding and heard everyone correctly is that everyone's here because they're feeling a little anxious and on edge due to lack of some school attendance. Did I understand that correctly?
Correct.
I guess.
Perfect, perfect. So thank you very much for giving me an understanding of why we're all here. And I am a therapist who's trained on cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a modality of CBT. It's also known as, it's a form of psychotherapy. It targets negative behaviors, trying to replace them with positive behaviors and creating that positive change. So can you help me understand, Dad, when Eddie doesn't go to school, what happens? What happens when Eddie doesn't go to school?
Well, typically what happens is I'm already in the office. It's a 25-mile drive, and I get a panic phone call from my wife here, almost in tears, saying, guess what, again, he does not want to go to school.
Okay. Mom, could you give me an understanding?
Yes, I take Eddie out to lunch and I try to explain to him why school is very important.
Okay. And Eddie, can you explain what happens when you don't go to school? What would happen?
Really, I don't know, nothing. Nothing really happens.
Nothing?
No.
Okay. So Eddie's behavior of not going to school is maintained by consequences and reinforcers. Essentially, these consequences are reinforcing Eddie's behavior. So Dad and Mom, what do you think are the consequences what happens when Eddie's not going to school? What are these consequences?
Well, to date, and we're just realizing it now, there have been no consequences.
Okay.
I just get aggravated, I get frustrated. His mother calls me, she gets frustrated, and then all that winds up happening is the consequence. She winds up taking him out to eat, to talk.
Okay. Hey Mom, can you help me understand?
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay. And when you say you agree, do you often take him out to lunch when he
I
doesn't
take
go to
him
school?
out to lunch and I try to explain to him all the time how school is very important to get a good education and a good job in life.
Okay. Okay, great. In order to shape these positive behaviors for Eddie to help you out, we're gonna need to add some punishers to make sure that these reinforcers are decreasing his behaviors of not wanting to school. So if you don't mind, Eddie, I'd like to take a moment to just kind of chat with your parents, and you're open if you have any suggestions that you would like to add about Mom and Dad. What are some punishers that you feel would be maybe a little more appropriate?
Well, I think we're getting to the point now that things just are not normal.
Okay.
So we now have to do not normal things in terms of possibly considering taking away his cell phone, cutting off his allowance, and letting him just start figuring out there are some really financial consequences for him not wanting to go to school.
Okay, and Mom, what do you?
I totally agree.
Okay, great. So in order to shape this positive change, and I'm sorry, Eddie, did you have any comments or feedback, or do you feel like that's?
Well, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, it kind of, it bothers me that I'd have to lose those things when school's just not, it's not for me. It's way too hard for me. And like I said before, I want to be a rock star.
I understand. And let's talk about shaping some behaviors, Mom and Dad, with Eddie. And Eddie, I hear you loud and clear, and that's great that you have some aspirations and some passions that you want to be a rock star. So what in being a rock star, what type of rock star do you want to be? Is there any like certain type?
Well, I'm a drummer. I play drums.
Oh, cool. And is there a reason that that you want to be this rock star? What would you say would be that effective reward of being a rock star? What's that?
You make a lot of money.
Okay, perfect. So you want to, what I'm hearing from you is that you want to become a rock star to make money.
Yeah.
Perfect. And that's great. Like I said, that's great to have this passion. So Mom and Dad, if you don't mind, I'm just going to kind of chat with Eddie about this for a minute, and feel free to chime in with any kind of things that you think of is absolutely fine. So Eddie, help me understand, what is needed to become a rock star? Like, what is physically needed?
Well, first I gotta get some drums.
Got you. Okay. So help me understand, how would you go about getting that drum set?
I don't know. Ask my mom and dad. My mom and dad give me some money to get some drums.
What are your thoughts?
Well, we've given him a starter set, but he doesn't think they're good enough, so he wants better drums.
Yeah.
Okay.
More professional.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you would have to go out and purchase drums for this aspiration that you have to be able to play on that professional level, what would something like that cost? Do you think? Do you have a round?
Yeah, like a few $1,000s.
Few thousand.
Yeah.
And would that be something that you guys would be able to help them with, or?
Not with the current situation. I mean, kid's not listening, doesn't want to go to school, doesn't cooperate with us.
Understood.
We need to start thinking about things in the other direction, taking away things versus getting them more.
Understood. So Eddie, how do you think you would go about getting these drums without having that financial support at this current
Well,
moment?
if I had to, I'd just get a job.
Okay.
I don't need school. I'll just get a job.
Okay. So you would get a job, and talk to me about, and I don't want to assume, so I do want to ask, like, do you have a car, being that the age you're at now?
No.
Okay. So it would have to be something within walking distance
Mhm.
within your house. Is there anything that you could look to walking to get to?
I thought about McDonald's. McDonald's is pretty close. I'd go
Okay.
to McDonald's.
Okay, perfect. So that sounds like a plan that you could get, kind of that part-time job, and it's, proven to be sound, and you can, it's within walking distance. And I just want to kind of talk to you about some of the jobs in Collier County. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but most jobs in Collier County, inclusive of McDonald's, I do work with juveniles at risk, so I'm very familiar with their hiring process and jobs throughout. They are actually now requiring you to have, at minimum, a high school diploma. Were you aware of that?
No.
Okay, and I'm sure Mom and Dad, things were different, and in your day, I'm not sure if that was something that was needed. So nowadays, that is specifically, is that the only place that in McDonald's, I'm guessing, that you can walk to?
It's the closest place.
Gotcha, yeah.
It's the closest.
So in order to make gainful employment there, Eddie, you would need to have that high school diploma. So let's talk about how you can reach that end goal of being a rock star and the steps that you would need to take. So if a high school diploma is needed for you to become that rock star, what do you think of that? What do you think of obtaining that high school diploma?
Well, last year I passed,
Okay.
and I feel like maybe if I have to, maybe I can do it. Maybe I can pass. I mean, I want to be a rock star. I don't want to go back, but if I had to go, I don't know. Maybe it's something I can work on.
Okay. So what I'd like to do, I'm sorry I'm flipping through our pages, I'm gonna make sure I'm getting the same form. So I had left out here for some things that we're gonna kind of be working on together. And Mom and Dad, I just wanna I'll show you as well too, so you're kind of following along with us. This is called the CBT triangle, the cognitive behavioral triangle. You'll see there's a circle for thoughts. And Eddie, if you wanna make use of this pen, you can go ahead and do that. There's a spot for his thoughts, his feelings, and behaviors. So essentially, if you think of a triangle, basically in cognitive behavior therapy is that the thoughts affects feelings, which affects his behavior. So let me break this down, Eddie, for you. So there's a situation that we often think about, and that situation at the top of the triangle leads to thoughts. So what are some thoughts, Eddie, that we're talking about going to school? What are some thoughts that come to your mind?
School is really hard.
Okay.
I just want to be a rock star.
Okay. And then as a result of these thoughts right here, we have emotions and feelings, if you guys can see right there. And what types of feelings and emotions would you be feeling? If you want to go ahead and write that in there, and you can feel free to share your answers, what your feelings and thoughts are.
I get anxious, I get nervous.
Okay. And as a result, there's behaviors. So behaviors that we react in a certain way. So once you feel that, you're gonna have a certain behavior. What are you normally, when you have those thoughts, how are you behaving? What's that behavior?
I don't go to school.
Okay, that's where you write that in. So does everyone kind of see how the thoughts affect your feelings and affect behavior? So, like I was saying, in cognitive behavioral therapy, we do want to replace those negative thoughts into positive thoughts. So I would like to also go over another worksheet with you, and I will share this one with you guys. And Eddie, where's yours? Okay. So I want to go over, it's called replacing negative thoughts with positive thoughts. So Eddie, if you kind of look at this worksheet right there where it says I tell myself, do you mind reading that, Eddie? Is that okay with you?
Now I'm different. I'm a bad person.
Okay. And then what are some things that you can use to change those thoughts?
Others are dangerous. I can't trust those people.
Okay. So, oh, you want to go with the second one? Nope. Perfect. Let's go with the second one. Okay. So Eddie's actually referring to this one, the second one, which is others are dangerous. I can't trust people. So that's a feeling. That's a feeling of, hey, there's some people that are dangerous. I can't trust them. So let's look to change those. So the next line, as you guys can see, is I'll change those thoughts and tell myself. What's an example that was provided by this worksheet? Do you mind reading that one out loud?
Lots of people haven't hurt me. People care about me and protect me.
Perfect. So Eddie and Mom and Dad, do you see kind of how that was restructured to think, hey, everyone's dangerous. I can't trust people, to saying, oh, maybe they haven't hurt me. And maybe people are actually out to help and protect me. So what we're gonna do, I actually have a blank one, Eddie, and this is right here. There's a blank one, and I'll share this with you guys. And this is the same worksheet, but this time we're gonna fill this out, okay?
Okay.
So I'm hearing you often say, you tell yourself, school's hard, I'm not really understanding. So if you want to write that, I tell myself. So what are some things that you tell yourself? Or is that something that's reoccurring in your mind?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to fill that one out, and anything that you want. And I guess you're hearing this often from Eddie as well at home. Okay, Eddie, can you share what you wrote down just so we can?
I don't want to go to school. It's just too hard.
Okay, and let's look at changing those thoughts. Let's look at changing those thoughts. So first I'm gonna have Eddie do it, and then Mom and Dad, maybe you can chime in and we can add some more things that he can make a positive statement about that. So Eddie, what are some things that you can change to make that into a positive statement? Can you take a moment and write that down?
Okay.
Okay, and what's something that you wrote down?
Like I said, I did it last year, and I'm hoping I can do it this year again. I can pass.
That's great. That's a great thought. Yeah. So do you see how Eddie kind of restructured those thoughts and took that negative behavior and made it into a positive? And that is right. So 9th grade you passed. You did awesome. You're on the 10th, so you can do it. Is there any other suggestions that you would have for him saying that he can't do it? Because you guys are probably hearing this often, that maybe you could provide in the positive for him, or anything.
Well, I just want him to understand, we appreciate his concern about school being hard, but life will even be harder if he doesn't finish school and get his high school diploma. So we just hope he can understand that, and again, repeat the success he had in 9th grade, repeat that in 10th through 12th, graduate, and then he can make some career decisions.
Yeah, so again, he's telling himself, I can't do this, but Dad's putting a little bit of a positive spin, saying, hey, it will get harder. However, same thing, almost piggybacking what Eddie's saying, you can do it, you did do it. So just continue that forward momentum. So I appreciate that feedback. That's great feedback. And you know, you have a family who cares, who's here and who's present for you to see these positives and to bring this out. So that's great. That's great to have for sure. So can you see how replacing these negative thoughts, there's a bunch of blank lines on here, and this is an exercise, Mom and Dad, that you can work with him. There might be other things, Eddie, that you say that, oh, I can't do this, or I don't think this. This is a great worksheet to kind of work this through. Put those thoughts down and think, how can you change those thoughts? What are some things that you can do to kind of replace those negative thoughts? I wanted to kind of also educate you guys on some truancy laws. So any, you are not of age yet. Are you familiar with the Florida statutes and the Florida truancy laws?
No.
Okay. Are you guys familiar with the Florida statutes?
No.
Okay. So within Collier County and within Florida, there is a statute on truancy in schools. And what it says is that you must attend school on a regular basis and not have unexcused absences. So if you have more than 15 unexcused absences, you can be taken to truancy court. So let me walk you through that. Let's walk through what are unexcused absences, okay? Because I know it's like kind of, well, what's excused, what's not excused? Eddie, what do you think is an excused absence? An excused means it's not going to count against your record. What are some things that you think are excused?
If I'm out sick.
Okay, if you're out sick. Okay, and what do you guys think would be excused?
Saying if he's sick.
Yes, sickness.
Okay, so I just want to elaborate on that.
Or even doctor's appointments, dental appointment, anything like that.
Yeah, so let me elaborate. So even if you're sick because of the situation that you're in, I was aware through phone conversations with your mother and father, they have started the process of truancy. I know you guys met with the school for that MTSS meeting to go over, and Eddie, I know you're present as well, to go over, hey, how can we improve this? How can we make this better? So with that being said, because you're at the point you're at, you are going to need notes if you are out from school, either doctor's notes, dental notes, so any medical or psychological. If you're, you know, for instance, today, you'll get a note for today for missing the latter half of school. So just kind of want to let you know that route. And truancy, basically you go in front of a judge and they can provide sanctions to make sure that you're going to school. So right now, Mom and Dad, I think the important thing, and Eddie, to stress to everyone at this table is, Eddie, the ball or the drumsticks right now are it's in your court, right? You have the reign of everything. You can control this show. However, if it continues down this path, Mom and Dad and Eddie, you will need to go in front of that judge to be able to explain why you're not going. And unfortunately, that judge will tell you kind of, you need to do X, Y, and Z. So I think by using the CBT modalities and being able to kind of restructure, reframe, rethink, I can do this, it's not only gonna improve like how you're thinking and how you're feeling, but it's also gonna improve his future. It's gonna allow him to move forward. It's gonna allow him to go forward in a positive light without judge saying, giving you orders saying you need to do 1 through 10. And they can order anything from staying in a shelter for 30, 60, 90 days. Can be in county, out of county. It can be things like civil citation, where you go out in the community and are there things that you like to do on Saturdays?
Mm-hmm.
What are some things that Eddie likes to do?
Likes to sleep in.
Sleep in?
Play music.
Play music, there you go. So what would you think on your sleeping in? Civil citation, bright and early, 8 a.m., cleaning the beaches till 1.
I don't want to do that.
Don't want to do that, right. So if we kind of work on replacing some of these behaviors, restructuring our thinking, knowing the Florida truancy laws, knowing the importance, how are you feeling about kind of replacing some of these behaviors, knowing that you can do it? How are you feeling now?
I mean, I'm feeling, I'm still nervous about school,
Yeah.
but I feel like I need to maybe try a little bit harder than what I've been trying.
Mhm.
And like I've said, I think I can do it. I think I can pass. I think that's the steps I need to take.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're feeling that, because as you can see, and we kind of all developed that in session, Eddie knows that he can do it. We all know that he can do it, right? He did it in 9th grade, so if you did it then, you know, there's things that we can work on together in next session, identifying, looking at your grades, seeing who you can talk to at school to kind of have that academic advisor, making sure you're moving forward on that track, okay? So before we come to an end of our session, I would like to go over another sheet that I don't like to call it homework because it's not something that you need to do every night. Just think of it as something that is going to assist with these behaviors and something that's going to help, okay? So this is called a relaxation practice sheet, and this relaxation practice sheet goes over things that you can do before next session. So let's kind of just go over at least one of them. Let me give you some examples. I heard that you like listening to music. Some other things that youth enjoy are maybe going for a bike ride, going to the park. So what would you think are some things that you enjoy doing?
I like playing music. I like listening to music.
Okay, perfect. So as you can see, the chart right here, it's labeled Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So when you're not feeling so great, you can kind of write how you feel. So maybe it's sad, maybe it's depressed, maybe it's upset. And then I'd like you to talk about something that you did, something that you prefer to do. Okay, so listening to music is one of the things. So you'll see the ratings. You can talk about how you felt before, 1 to 10. Okay, 10 being like, I felt great. 1 being like, not so great. Then you'll see there's a secondary rating here that says how you feel after you do that activity. Okay?
Yeah.
So you can try listening to music for a little bit, and then after I want you to kind of rate yourself to see how you're feeling after.
Okay.
Okay, and these are just some relaxation techniques that you can take with you and you can do. And for next session, what we'll do is we'll kind of discuss these. Also, Mom and Dad, I'm going to give you guys this copy as well, because obviously we talked about in the front, it is kind of obsession, it is kind of producing some of that stress and anxiety, and you know, Mom and Dad might want to have some time to just kind of relax and calm down, and this might be a great tool for you guys to utilize as well. So I'm very proud of everyone. I think we made some really good progress in explaining why and how this modality can help you identify this positive. So I look forward to seeing everyone next week. Let's talk about scheduling, okay? Are there any preferred times that you guys would like to meet for session?
Yeah. Well, ideally it would be after school so Eddie can at least go to school.
Okay.
I don't want to be taking him out for a
Perfect.
session to discuss why he's not in session.
Perfect. Okay, so after school, any certain days that would work?
Any day of the week. Middle week is better for me.
Okay, so middle
Wednesday.
Wednesday, okay. And is it easier to, okay for everyone to come back in person?
Sure.
Yes.
Perfect. All right, so I think we're on a path of really good growth. Does
Mhm.
anyone have any questions or?
No, I think it's important that we all get on the same page to understand that there needs to be consequences,
Yeah,
and the consequences coming from us to Eddie, but also that there's consequences if it ever gets to the point of seeing a judge, right? So we all need to make sure we understand that. Maybe we can talk about that in the next session.
absolutely. And I know we briefly touched on that, Eddie, about the truancy laws and the consequences. And I heard mom and dad, you say very loudly and clearly that if this continues, that there will be some consequences, such as removing the phone. And Eddie, I did hear in one of my notes that I have written down here, I wrote down very clearly, I don't think that's right, I don't think that's fair. So I do understand that you don't want to see that happen. And I know, just to reinforce what your dad had just said, the judge having consequences, I know your reaction to that was that you prefer to not have that. You prefer to, kind of go about your own way and have that ball in your court. So I really want to commend everyone for coming together. And Eddie, I think it's great that you have passions, and we can work towards getting that drum set and obviously having to go to school to make that money. So we're going on that path, and it all comes back to just replacing your thoughts that you can do this and you got this. So I appreciate everyone's time today, and then I will see you next Wednesday.
Very good.
Sounds
Thank you.
good.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it. Have a great night.
All right, bye.